Hi friends, welcome to our first installment of a wrap-up video and a redo of the one bake salmon dish. This was a dish that we featured on one of our cook-along streams, and I figured I would come out today and just recreate it for you in a simple to follow video that we can boil down into the simple steps and cut out all of the extra parts that happened on stream. If you guys would still like to watch the full VOD though, it is up on the YouTube channel and you are more than welcome to check that out. However, for today's recipe, we will be cooking a simple one pan salmon bake dish with potatoes and cauliflower using a 10-inch cast iron skillet in the oven. Make sure you have it set to start preheating at 400 degrees because that is what we will be using the oven at for the entirety of this process. So, onto the ingredients real quick. What we will be using today is, I have 2 small potatoes. You can use either 2 small potatoes or 1 medium-sized potato for your starch. I have a blend here of spices, and they will be listed on the video itself. We have in this mixture here Cajun Curl, which is a Tony's-like substitute. It has lower sodium. It tastes a lot better in my opinion and is a brand started by my family. We also have 1 teaspoon of rosemary, 1 teaspoon of fresh basil, 2 teaspoons of parsley, half a teaspoon of cilantro, and about half to a full teaspoon of black pepper. That will be enough for just our potatoes. Those are the only things that we will be spicing at this time. Later on, we will need about 1 teaspoon of sugar to 2 teaspoons if you're really feeling froggy, and then also about a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons worth of black pepper. We're also going to be using a tablespoon of butter. I prefer personally salted butter, not margarine, using the cast iron. We have a healthy amount of cauliflower that will be going into our pan once we go to broil everything. And I like to let that sit out while I am doing all of my other prep work, just so that it can start thawing a little bit, and we'll make sure and ensure that it is cooked thoroughly when we get to the cooking of the cauliflower. Last up, I have about a 6 to 8 ounce salmon fillet that I have here. I have it thawed. I had previously frozen it just to preserve it. So we want to make sure that this is completely thawed out before we go to cook, or else our cook time is going to be different and it will not cook thoroughly once we get it into the oven. So the first step that we are going to be doing is we will be taking our potatoes and cubing them. Alright, first up we're going to be cutting our potatoes. And we're going to be wanting to keep these in a roughly 3/4 of an inch cubes in order to help them cook evenly and thoroughly during their oven time. We will be cooking them in the oven for 20 minutes, after 5 minutes on the stove, and then they will finish out with the fish. We need to make sure to remove any blemishes from the potatoes as we go through and dice them up. Our next step is going to be taking the sugar, putting it roughly a teaspoon, maybe a little bit more, and just rubbing it onto our salmon. And then from there, we will take our pepper, sprinkle it on, and also rub it in nice and well. Want to make sure that we get a lot of pepper. This is a step that will be done as desired in to taste. I personally prefer a lot of pepper. Alright friends, once we have our potatoes cut and our salmon peppered and sugared, I want to make sure that we put the sugar on before the pepper, just so that the pepper can take full effect on the salmon, as well as the sugar. It just combines a little bit with the already sweetness of it to elevate it to a new level. So next we are going to get our skillet preheated while our oven continues to warm up, and we are going to be getting it to about a 7 on my stove. So we're getting for that medium to high heat. We will be cooking our potatoes on the stove for 5 minutes before moving them into the oven and getting them cooked the rest of the way. I'll see you in just a moment. Alright, our next steps will be to first take our butter and add it to the dish. Once it's nice and melted, we will go ahead and add our potatoes and our seasoning. Make sure to give it a nice stir and allow the spices to get distributed across all of the potatoes before flattening them out and letting them cook for 5 minutes. And once our 5 minutes is up, we will go ahead and put the potatoes into the oven for 20 minutes. And once those 20 minutes are over, pull them back out and get ready for our next step. Now that we have the potatoes done, we can move on to adding the salmon and cauliflower. As you can see here, we have pushed the potatoes to one side of the pan and placed the salmon onto the pan directly, no additional oil needed. We then surround it with some cauliflower. 2 things to note before moving forward. When placing the salmon onto the pan, be sure to move it back and forth just a little bit to ensure that it does not stick to the pan as much. Also, we will be cooking it in the oven on 200 for 8 minutes, and then placing it on the top rack and broiling it for 3 minutes. Alright friends, once you are done with the oven, you can go ahead and after you've broiled your fish, pull it out, let it sit on the stove for just a few moments to cool down a little bit before plating, and your finished product should look a little something like this. I hope you guys, whoops, my cauliflower slipping there. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Remember to follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/the Michigan Viking. Thank you all so much for coming out and enjoying this video. I hope you take this dish and make it one of your own. You can modify everything a little bit. I typically will add a little bit of salt and pepper to my cauliflower, maybe add in a little bit of broccoli, but it's all up to you. Enjoy this simple one-pan salmon baked dish, and I will see you next time.